Welcome, everybody, to the Fasting Transformation Summit, where we are uncovering the most ancient, inexpensive, and powerful healing strategy known to mankind, fasting. I know you've heard about it. You've probably heard people doing it. Some are scared of it. Some are jumping in. We're going to go through, really, in this summit, exactly how to do fasting right and all the benefits that you can get from it, really who's a candidate for this. And so I'm really excited about today's interview, and this is with Ty Bollinger, who's a great friend of mine and a pioneer when it comes to cancer. And we're going to dive into this topic of fasting for cancer. And so if you don't know me, if you haven't listened to any other interviews, I'm Dr. David Jockers, and I'm just really excited about this topic. And so Ty Bollinger, you'll know him from his best-selling books, so Cancer Step Outside the Box, as well as The Truth About Cancer and the documentary series Truth About Cancer and Truth About Vaccines. And so Ty, welcome to the Fasting Transformation Summit.
Dr. J, thanks for having me on today, my friend. As always, a pleasure to talk to you. Some fun on this subject.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell us your story. You know, a lot of people that we're interviewing are either researchers or natural health experts, but you got into this really through a family tragedy. Can you tell our audience really how you got started with your natural health walk and your passion for helping people understand the truth about health and healing?
Sure. It started a long time ago. It's hard to believe that it was a little over 22 years ago now that we got started down the rabbit hole of researching cancer treatments and beginning to share with people that they have options if they're diagnosed with cancer, which has become our life's mission. But it all started with my father in July of 1996, only 6 months after Charlene and I were married. We were newlyweds, 6 months married. We go to mom and dad's house. Dad doubles over in pain. He was 52. I'm 50 right now as I stand before you. So he was 2 years older than me. He doubles over in pain. We take him to the hospital. They think it's gallstones. 4 hours later, they come out and the doctor's in tears. He says it's cancer. It's so advanced and he's so young. And at that point, my mother collapsed. And 25 days later, we lost Dad. He died within 25 days of diagnosis. You know, we see now in retrospect that he actually didn't die of cancer. His prognosis was 2 years initially. He died in 25 days because they botched the surgery and he bled to death. So he was actually an iatrogenic death, which is a death caused by medicine. But that was the first of many loved ones that we lost to cancer. And in 2004, I lost my mother, and in between 6 other family members. So that's when we began to put this information that we've been researching since Dad got sick. We've been learning about natural treatments for cancer. We've been learning that actually using nutrition to heal is not a foreign concept. It actually works, that there are thousands of documented cases of people that have healed from diseases because they changed their nutrition, and may have even included fasting, and we can get to that. And we put that into a book form, and we sold our first book in August of 2006. It was called Cancer Step Outside the Box. Never dreamed that we would be doing this full time 12 years later, but that's kind of where God has us, and we're happy to be here to spread the truth that cancer doesn't have to be a death sentence. And after 2006, published a lot more books, about another half dozen books. And then finally started The Truth About Cancer in 2014 and doing the documentary miniseries that many people have seen now.
Yeah, what a journey. And I remember years ago when you sent me the Cancer Step Outside the Box book, you sent that to me, and I was just blown away with the level of depth of research that you went through in that. And coming from, a CPA background, right? You weren't really in the health space, but you dug into the research based on what happened with your father and what you were seeing going on with your family. And so let's start with the role that nutrition does play in cancer formation. Let's talk about that.
Well, many of the experts that I interviewed on the Truth About Cancer series said almost verbatim that if you're eating proper nutrition, if you're getting proper nutrition and it's causing your immune function to work the way it should, it's impossible to get cancer, right? That's how big of a role that nutrition can play in cancer formation. I believe, and many of the experts, and I think yourself, believe that cancer is a result of two things. It's a deficiency coupled with overburden of toxicity. What is that? Deficiency in nutrition, right? We're not eating proper foods, or we're eating things that are actually toxic, and that's the other side of the coin, that are making us sick. The toxicities are compromising the immune system, and then we're not able to function the way that we're supposed to, that God made us to heal. It's interesting, but I really believe this, and this might sound funny from a guy that's done documentaries called The Quest for the Cures, But I don't think that there are any cures for cancer. I think, and here's what I mean by that. Somebody's going to cut that and put that out on the internet and say, hey, I don't believe there's any cures for cancer. What I mean by that is that God has made us to where we are the cure. Our bodies are what do the healing. Now, God's made hundreds, if not thousands, of herbs and roots and vegetables that have anti-cancer effects that allow our body to go in and attack the cancer, and they'll help us with the healing. But overall, we get well because our body does the healing. We give the proper nutrition, and it runs the way God made it to, and God made us to be healthy. So I think the real cure to cancer is you making sure that you're getting proper nutrition, that you're detoxifying properly so that your immune function is not compromised, and that's when cancer can get a foothold.
Yeah, I totally agree. So why is this not taught? Like, why are mainstream oncologists and mainstream media not telling people more about this?
Largely because they don't know. Now, many do know, and it's not popular to talk about nutrition, but most doctors, I believe, really go through medical school with good hearts, good intentions. They want to heal. They want to see people get better. It's like what they do. That's their life. And they have good intentions in large part. The problem is that even if you're a genius doctor, you don't know what you're not taught, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so what happened over 100 years ago in 1910 was called the Flexner Report, where the medical school education was basically co-opted in the United States to push drugs. And if you want to go into depth in the Flexner, we can, but we probably want to focus on other things. But you can do a Google search for the Flexner Report, and you can read about the way that the American Medical Association basically made medical schools who were pushing drugs, right, drug intensive, were the schools that got the funding from the big donors like the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. And as a result, 100 plus years later, the only medical schools that are left are the ones that got the funding back in 1910. And the schools that got the funding were the ones that were pushing drugs, and the homeopaths and the chiropractors and the naturopaths and all of the herbalists and all these things that we now might look at as, quote, quackery, right? Because we've been conditioned to think that's quackery, even though that is real medicine. That's ancient medicine. But we've been conditioned to think it's quackery. This all goes back to the American Medical Association in 1910. And that's why doctors don't know, because they're not taught it in medical school. Because medical schools really, when it comes to cancer, and not necessarily a lot of other stuff, like trauma medicine and brain transplants and all the things that we're able to do that are really amazing with modern medicine today. I'm not anti-medicine or anti-doctor. But when it comes to cancer, we're in the dark ages. We're pushing drugs. We're pushing chemical drugs to try to heal someone that's already sick. Yeah. And the drugs are toxins. So why would you try to make somebody sick by pushing a poison? It just doesn't make any logical sense to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sorry. Why would you try to make somebody that's already sick well by pushing poison? I think I said that incorrectly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really doesn't make logical sense. Now, in an acute crisis, could it potentially add some years to somebody's life or buy them some more time for sure, but it doesn't actually move them closer to health. And I think that's the big thing that you're talking about here. And so, we discussed.
Let me jump in real quick. Yeah. I just got back from Asia. I was there for a month filming for our next documentary to release in April 2019, the Asian Quest, I think we're going to call it, something to that effect. Almost, I'd have to say over a dozen doctors told me just in a sarcastic manner, like, I can't imagine why medical doctors are pushing so many drugs. We're not sick because we're drug deficient. It was just something that was very common among the holistic practitioners in Asia. They would say something to that effect, that we're not sick because we lack drugs. We're sick because we lack nutrients.
Yeah.
Drugs don't heal a sick body. And so it's it's common knowledge over there that pushing drugs to heal sickness really is kind of wacky.
Yeah, it's a core thought with traditional Chinese medicine, and that's kind of pretty much what dominates Asia, although unfortunately the Western medicine has gotten in for good, for positive, and also for negative as well over there too. So I'm glad you did that, and I'm looking forward to seeing that documentary series for sure. So we're talking about how nutrients play a role in helping prevent cancer. How about fasting? How about really just taking everything away? What role does fasting play in reducing cancer formation and potentially helping somebody heal cancer?
Well, I think fasting plays a huge role. Oftentimes, not everybody incorporates it into their protocol. I did interview a lady in Tokyo that was diagnosed with a really aggressive type of thyroid cancer. She did do chemotherapy, but the doctor says, nobody lives through this. We can do you the chemo and we can put another month or two of life on you, but nobody's going to make this. And so she did the chemo, but then they tried to get her to go on this high calorie diet, which she said was just counterintuitive to her, because she said, I feel like my body's sick because I'm putting too much sugar and things that feed cancer into my body. So she actually she did a 12-day water fast, which is the antithetical to what the doctors told her to do. She's alive like 2 years later to tell her story, because and I think she lived because she fasted. So what did she do? She removed the fuel from the cancer. Cancer cells ferment sugar to produce energy. That's well known. They're anaerobic, and that's the way they produce energy. Without oxygen, they ferment sugar. So if you remove the source of energy, maybe you've got a chance to kill the cancer cells because they can't produce energy anymore, whereas normal cells that aren't cancerous are really good at using ketone bodies to produce energy. And ketone bodies are what we start producing when we stop eating sugar, right? So if you fast, by definition, you're going to start producing ketone bodies for energy, and your normal cells run really efficiently on ketone bodies, and cancer cells don't. So if you take away all the food, you fast, cancer cells are going to die because there's no sugar, and the rest of your cells, you can live a long time without food. I mean, our good friend, Dr. Edward Group, did a 18-day water-only fast earlier this year. And, you know, Ed didn't have a lot of fat to start with, but he was a thin guy, a slender guy like yourself, Dr. J. He went 18 days with no food, just water, and he did just fine. We can live a long time without food because our body starts converting the fat to energy.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable what the body does and how it increases its energy efficiency, its metabolic flexibility. And yeah, Dr. Group is one of our interviews, and he's talking about water fasting, extended water fasting. And you're right. I mean, the guy's probably like 8 to 10% body fat normally. Yeah. And this is well fed. And then, you know, he fasts and his body's still good, even though he's so lean, and actually taking that fat and breaking it down and producing the fuel, right? And so from my experience, basically, you know, we know that viruses, right? You know, viruses can play a role as well with cancer. And so autophagy, we're basically, when we fast, the body's got to get fuel somewhere. So it'll break down fat cells, like you were talking about, produce ketones, and then it needs amino acids, things like that. So it'll start to break down these old decaying cells. And sometimes it'll go after these cells that are infected by viruses, right? And so it can be a great way to help reduce viral infections. And, you know, that could be a stimulus as well for cancer. And so, you know, a big thing that a lot of people with cancer are concerned about when it comes to fasting is many of them are dealing with cachexia, right? Where they're losing all this weight. And so they're given things like Ensure, you know, and told, hey, you need to boost up your calories, consume more fuel, right? Consume more of these things.
Which is like 50% sugar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the ingredients, it's like corn maltodextrin, right? Sugar and GMOs. And basically that's pretty much what they're giving them the whole time. And so basically, what are your thoughts on somebody who is concerned about fasting because they're already losing weight with cancer? What are your thoughts on, you know, strategies that they can apply as they go into fasting?
You know, what for somebody that's already losing weight, what I would recommend, and even though I'm not a doctor, I'm not supposed to recommend. If it were me, like I can say this, what I would try to do is I wouldn't do like a water fast. You're going to need calories as you're losing weight. What I would begin to do would be more of an intermittent fasting, which gives your body time each day to deal with the toxic debris, to cleanse on a daily basis, and then have a concentrated period, maybe 4 to 6 hours each day that you get the bulk of your calories. And what I would do personally is go completely ketogenic. I'd go a clean ketogenic, not like 10 pounds of meat a day, but a lot of avocados, a lot of coconut oil, who, even though you've seen the article that the Harvard professor talked about how toxic coconut oil was and how poisonous it was, she's clueless. It's very healthy. It's great for a ketogenic diet. Avocados, coconut oil, real butter. You know, I try to get a high quality fats, minimum, you know, middle of the road on the proteins, make sure it's very clean proteins, and then low carbs. That would be I would follow the ketogenic diet for 4 hours, 5 hours a day, and get some substantial calories in during that time. Because then you have a 20-hour period, 19-hour period that you're not eating. I think that combination, I know it works because I've interviewed hundreds of cancer patients that have done that. and I know it's worked for them, that would be what I would do personally.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And so you kind of get the best of both worlds. Your body gets more sensitive to insulin when you do that kind of extended fast. You also boost up some growth hormone, human growth hormone, which is great for the immune system, great for muscle development, preserving lean body tissue. But then you do get the calories in there too, right?
Yeah.
And so you get the calories that your body needs, the raw materials that it needs. So I think that's a great strategy.
I think also too, it gives people like light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Where if you say to somebody, look, I need you to do a 21-day water only fast, they're going to be like, I can't do it. If you tell them, I need you to do 4 days water only fast, they're going to say, I can't do it. Probably. If you tell them, I need you to do a 2-week fast where all you do is drink juice, they're going to say, I don't know if I can do that for 2 weeks. But if you tell them, I need you to only eat between a 4 and 5 hour period, water the rest of the time. If you want to have a little bit of tea or whatever, something like that, no sugar, no calories really, that's okay. But during that 4 or 5 hour period of time, you can consume, 1,200 calories if you want to, as long as they're clean and they can be tasty. You can have avocado and meat and eggs. They'll be like, okay, I can do that. Your average person can do that. Takes some discipline, but you can do that, and it's achievable. So I think that's one of the reasons that's a good recommendation, is that people can do that, and they can look forward to that big couple of meals they're going to be able to have in just a few hours. And it's not like, I got 2 weeks of this, I can't do it.
Yeah, compliance is key, and so absolutely giving them something that they can tackle and say, you know what, I can rearrange my lifestyle in order to do this is huge. And so I know you touched on toxicity and toxicity's role in cancer development. So we know fasting is a great way to help the body detox, whether it's through intermittent fasting, juice fasting, whether it's through strategies like getting in ketosis, can help the body to detox. And so why is toxicity such a big factor today in causing cancer? And what do you typically recommend as far as helping somebody go through a detoxification process?
I think toxicity is a problem for several issues. Number one, it impairs the immune system. We just know that toxins impair immunity. That's a given. Toxicity also burdens the organs to where they don't function the way that they should. So let's look at the organs of our body as if they were the bathrooms in our house, right? And so the liver is the downstairs bathroom, and the kidneys are the upstairs bathroom. And we have all these bathrooms in the house, and they're all clogged, right? Well, it's not going to be long before the house is a mess, because the organs that are supposed to be detoxifying the waste from the house are clogged up. And so when we look at toxins that way, we look at a lot of the poisons that are in our food, the pesticides, the effect that they have on our organs in our body. Our organs are toxic. I don't know that any medical doctor would disagree that we're toxic. I think the disagreement is, well, can you really detoxify a toxic body? But everybody knows we're toxic. We're exposed to so much. So I think the issue with the toxicity is that it impairs the immune system, it clogs up the organs, and it makes our body it makes the fluids in our body sluggish. Our kidneys aren't pumping the way that they should. Our liver's not pumping the way that it should, or excreting the bile the way that it should. Our lymph system is not pumping the way that it should. I think that's a big one with toxicity, because people don't understand that the lymphatic system is so important in cancer prevention. So we have the bloodstream, the blood system, and our blood's going to get pumped whether we like it or not. As long as that heart's beating, our blood's getting pumped. So it doesn't require any effort on your part. You don't have to go to bed and say, I hope my heart keeps pumping the blood. And that's going to do it. That's the way God made us. But lymph system's different. And if you don't take an active role in your health and do something on a daily or every other day basis to stimulate your lymphatic flow, your body's going to be pretty toxic. Like if you remember the old cowboy movies out in the desert, they get to a bottle or a hole of water and it's all stagnant, and they're like, don't drink that water, right? As thirsty as they were, they're not going to drink the water. Why? Because it's stagnant. And when our lymphatic system gets stagnant, we get toxic. So, and the lymphatic system is one of our detoxification systems in our body. So if you're not moving, and what my favorite exercise is a rebounder, a little mini trampoline, just 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, watch your TV program, watch the news, watch a sports program, whatever, and just jump. I do it. I have one in my gym here at my house, and I'll jump 15 minutes on the rebounder before I start my workout. Why? Because that up and down motion stimulates the lymphatic flow, and it helps to detoxify your body. So that's something that I think many people today, because of our sedentary lifestyle, they don't get enough exercise. They're not getting the movement. And so that's important if you want to prevent cancer.
Super important. And so what are some other things that people can be doing on a daily basis to help flush toxins out?
Drink plenty of water. I mean, it just seems so simple, but how many people, I go through probably 20 of these a day. I mean, I'm drinking all day long.
Water right here. See that?
Yeah. Cheers. So drink lots of water because your body's 75 to 90% water, depending upon who you read. We're mostly water. And if you're not getting enough water in your body, you're getting dehydrated. It's not going to carry out toxins. Being hydrated is essential if you're going to detoxify. Otherwise, the toxins don't flow through your body. They get caught. So drink a lot of water. That's number one key each day. Drink plenty of water. The lymphatic system I've already talked about, move. We need to sweat, right? And so along with our lifestyle that's so cush today for us, right? I mean, can you imagine if 200 years ago, if people that were on the prairie said, hey, you know what? People are going to make a living one day sitting in front of this screen and talking to other people and typing, they would have laughed, right? It's like, you can't make a living. You have to plow the ground. You have to grow your own food. But things have changed in technology age. But as a result of this technology, we're not moving anymore. We're not exercising anymore. And most people don't sweat on a daily basis. So sweating is key. Your skin is your primary organ of detoxification in your body. You need to sweat every day. I sit in a far infrared sauna. I also work out with weights, but I sweat a lot more in the sauna than I do when I'm working out with weights, because most of the time people go to the gym, myself included sometimes, do a set and wait 4 minutes and, watch the news and do another set. You're not really working out that hard.
And it's air conditioning too. You got the air conditioning going on.
Got the air conditioning on too. So in the far infrared sauna, I sit 45 minutes and I sweat like a pig every day. Why? Well, number one, it makes me feel good. I love that. Number two, it actually speeds up your metabolism an amazing amount. The far infrared does, near infrared does as well. But number three, it also detoxifies. I'm sweating each day and that's healthy.
Yeah. And that actually stimulates autophagy as well too. That deep heat and high intensity exercise, like you're talking about, all stimulate that autophagy mechanism. So really powerful. Yeah. And going back to your pond example there, I always tell people, you want to keep things moving like a river in your body. You don't want them stagnant like a pond, or else you get over fermentation and just massive amount of endotoxins, toxins produced within the body, leaching out into all the systems of the body. So you got to be like a river and keep hydrating your body throughout the day, keep things moving through. And, constipation is a big factor as well, right? So the hydration will really help the body to flush, as far as how that just gets everything out, gets all those toxins out like you were talking about. Yeah. So what are some helpful supplements that you like to use to help with lymphatic system, liver, colon, right? And getting the systems moving?
My favorite supplements for that?
Yeah.
I don't, for the lymphatic system, I don't think I take any supplements per se that are for the lymphatic system. I know that there's a lot of supplements. There's a lot of homeopathy that you can take. Yeah. I've taken homeopathy for it in the past, but I don't really take any supplement that's for that per se. What I do is basically just try to make sure that I'm rebounding every day and sweating every day. And I think that's enough for my detoxification process. If I were going to do like what you hear is like a full body cleanse, right? Where you do all your organs, and lymphatic system would be a part of that, and I would probably take something at that point to help the lymph drainage even more, but I don't typically every day.
How about SEAC-T? I've heard that SEAC-T really helps stimulate the lymphatic system. What are your thoughts on that?
It does. It does. Yeah. That's one of the things that SEAC-T does, as well as, not only is it known for cancer, but also lymphatic drainage and blood cleaning. A lot of the herbs in SEAC are good at both of those. It's interesting, Dr. J, my grandmom, who died of cancer in 98, I think it was, maybe 99. She had been diagnosed in the late 80s, and she had used SEAC-T for almost a decade, even though, she was told she wouldn't make it very much longer. I still remember going to her house in San Antonio and helping her make that SEAC-T. She brewed it herself and put it in the dark amber bottles and put it in the fridge. She took that for almost a decade, and she wasn't supposed to live that long.
Yeah, just powerful stories like that. Yeah, SEAC's got things like burdock in there, yellow dock, I believe, is in there. Some of these herbs that are really good. They really hit all the systems, but, definitely I've heard that very good for lymphatics and just getting toxins circulating and moving out of the system. So real powerful stuff. How about supplements you like to take for liver and gut?
I don't really take anything for liver or gut regularly.
Yeah.
You know, the supplements that I take are more generic, like, you know, a multivitamin. I take a good turmeric product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Turmeric's good for the liver.
Turmeric's, yeah, real good for the liver.
So
Absolutely.
it's good for the liver, but I don't really take it for that particular reason, just because it's just an all-around superstar, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I take a lot of medicinal mushrooms, which are actually both good for the liver and the gut.
Yes.
And so I do a lot of that. I don't really take anything. If I'm doing like a detox, a gut detox, you know, I'll take some of the natural herbal laxatives to help the bowels to move. But I'm pretty healthy overall, so I don't typically include that every day either.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked a little bit about some of the supplements that you take. How do you incorporate fasting? We talked about intermittent fasting. Let's take like a week or a month in your life and how you try to incorporate fasting in.
Almost every day I do intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much, it's not even like, it's just what I do now. You probably are the same way. You get into a habit. I don't think about it as being intermittent fasting. It's just, I eat lunch about 12:30 or 1 and I stop eating about 6:30 or 7. That's just what I do now. So that's my period that I eat. And when I'm eating, even though I'm not actively thinking I'm going to eat a ketogenic diet, I eat mostly a ketogenic diet. Not that I'm always trying to stay in ketosis, but the foods that I enjoy, I love avocados, I love eggs, I love coconut oil, I love butter, I like clean meats, I like the vegetables that are the lower carbohydrate type vegetables like kale. There's certain noodles that I get that are very low carbohydrate noodles that are actually made from
is that shirataki noodles?
Yeah, shirataki noodles.
Yeah, miracle noodles.
Yeah, so I eat pretty much ketogenic because that's what I like. But so I'm pretty much usually keto intermittent fasting, but I don't really think about it that way. That's just kind of the way that I eat. And if I want to have a bowl of organic ice cream with the kids, then I eat it.
Yeah. So you're pretty much, for the most part, you're eating intuitively, right? Yeah. So you know kind of, I'm going to eat real foods. And I think this is great for all the listeners out there. Your baseline, your foundation is real foods, like real foods for the most part. And then, basically you're just steering towards these foods that are very rich in nutrients, trace minerals, very alive. And you love the fats, and your body naturally starts to crave those healthy fats, like we were talking about, avocados, things like that. And you've taught your body to burn fat as its primary fuel. So then when you wake up in the morning, you're hydrating your body well, and you just don't naturally feel hungry. So you end up waiting typically till lunch, right? You consume a good meal, and then you typically that satisfies you till dinner, and you have a good dinner. And then from time to time, you splurge a little bit with your family and just enjoy a great time with them, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you can get into a habit of eating, I guess intuitively is kind of the way that I'm eating. I feel the best this way. That way I'm not always like, oh man, I gotta, go on a diet, or I need to lose some weight. And then, I got too skinny. I need to gain some weight, whatever your plight might be on the metabolic, scale. Just eat intuitively. Eat what makes you feel good and makes you feel healthy. And don't a diet, when it gets to where you're always obsessed about what you're eating, it's not healthy, right? It's like, it doesn't need to be the center of your thought all the time. Oh, I wish I could have this to eat. I wish I could have that. Get in a rhythm of eating what makes you feel good, and get in a schedule of eating. And then that way you're just kind of living your life. You're enjoying it. And I can go spend time with Charlene and the kiddos and not have to think, oh, when did I get my last protein? Or should I have extra fat with this meal? Just get in the habit of eating what you said, clean, natural. I love sprouts. I love herbs. I love fresh vegetables. So I'm able to eat all that stuff and still eat mostly ketogenic now that I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about what I ate for the last week. It's mostly ketogenic, but it wasn't because I was thinking I'm going keto. It's just what I like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, just eating intuitively. So for all the people out there that maybe have had a family member affected by cancer, or perhaps they're dealing with cancer right now, what are some words of inspiration that you could give them as they embark on their health journey?
I mean, I think the first thing that I would want people to take away from this interview is that cancer is not a death sentence. So we've been conditioned, we've been programmed, literally mentally programmed to hear the word cancer and to panic. Because when you're in panic mode, you pretty much do what you're told. And the doctors have, not on purpose, but they scare you into doing what they wanted you to do. because you panic. You don't know that you have options. You're afraid of cancer. So our message is it's not a death sentence. There's always hope. Empower yourself with knowledge that if you are one of the 40 to 50% of people that will be diagnosed with cancer, according to the World Health Organization, that you do have options, and it's not a death sentence. And the fear itself can actually perpetuate the cancer, right? So you've heard of the phrase being scared to death.
Yeah.
Literally, fear can do that to you. So if your immune system's already compromised, you go in, you've got a lump in your breast, let's say, the doctor examines says it's cancer and it's bad. You've got maybe 3 months, ma'am. I'm so sorry to tell you. You're panic stricken and you just went into fight or flight, which further compromises your immune system. Your immune system, the blood in your immune system, we can measure your blood at that point. We can see what kind of lymphocyte activity there is and what kind of NK cells and T cells and B cells in your blood and what they're doing. And they won't be doing jack at that point. Your immune system stops functioning when you're in fight or flight, when you're scared. That's where the term scared to death came from, I think. And so, and studies have shown this. They've drawn blood from people to prove that fear can actually paralyze your immune system. So don't be paralyzed with fear. Know that you have options. Empower yourself with knowledge. And, you know, my recommendation is for people to get in touch with someone like yourself or another functional medicine doctor that can coach them through the process.
Yeah, for sure. And that's so true about fear. In the Bible, it talks about fear and love, right? And ultimately, fear is going to stop our body's ability to heal. And so I think, you know, part of the Fasting Transformation Summit is not just fasting and its role on us physically, but also we can mentally, emotionally, and spiritually fast as well, right? Like fasting from negative thoughts, fasting from fear.
And you know, if you look in the Bible, Dr. J, there's, you know, Charlotte and I were just talking about this a couple of days ago. There's a passage where they were casting out demons, and this kind of demon's only going to be cast out with prayer and fasting. Yeah. Right. So there's certain power that the fasting can give you spiritually as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, prayer and fasting I've found to be the most powerful form of healing, and really it doesn't cost you anything other than just a commitment. And that's really what it comes down to. And so you're fasting, you're cleansing your body from the inside out. You're also cleansing your mind with prayer from the inside out and kind of attuning to the messages that God has for you. So yeah, really powerful stuff. And if somebody's out there, let's say, and they're struggling with cancer, or they have a family member with cancer, and they want to find out more about you, the work that you do with Truth About Cancer, your documentaries, where can they find that?
Yeah, it's www.thetruthaboutcancer.com. We've got thousands of free articles out there. We've got documentaries that we produce where you can watch some of the episodes out there. They're on YouTube. You can watch them. Got just a lot of free information. And the goal that we have is just to help empower people with knowledge so that you can make a good choice. You know, the problem that I have, the problem that Charlene, my wife, has, I mean, our big beef with this whole system is that people really aren't given a good choice. I don't have any issue at all if somebody's diagnosed with cancer and they want to do chemo. That's their choice. We should have a choice. The issue that I have is that they're told that's their only option. That's not true. There's lots more options that you have. You just need to know about them. And that's why we do what we do. That's why you're doing what you're doing, Dr. J. We love you. We love Angel, the boys. We admire what you're doing as well, because you're on a mission to educate people that they have options, right? All of this stuff that the modern medical doctors look on and they say, oh, this woo-woo medicine. Man, this medicine has been used. This is God's medicine. Nature, herbs, homeopathy, sweating, right? Getting out in the sun, eating real food. This goes way back to the Garden of Eden. This is God's medicine. He put it here for a reason. In Genesis, how many mentions do we have of herbs yielding fruit and seeds? That's God's remedy for health, is to eat natural foods. That's his medicine. But we're told today, you know, God's medicine is not really good enough right now. We need the chemicals and the technologies that have been developed in the last 100 years to heal you, because we're shocked that humanity made it this far without our inventions, even though we've lived for several thousand years at a minimum without radiation therapy or chemotherapy. But they think you got to take these to perpetuate the survival of humanity. It's just not true. As a matter of fact, they've co-opted the language to where if you hear somebody's diagnosed with cancer, they're going to go and the doctor's going to say chemo, radiation, surgery. These are your only treatment. These are the traditional treatments for cancer. Well, that's not true. Traditional means that they've been used for traditions. Chemoradiation surgery aren't traditional. Eating herbs and natural foods and detoxification, eating, using God's remedies for disease, that is traditional medicine. This new stuff that we've just invented in the last 100 years should be called alternative. Chemo and radiation and surgery should be called alternative medicine because it's not traditional. The traditional stuff is stuff that God's given us since creation.
Well, Ty, you're right on with that. And this has been such a great interview. And I want to acknowledge you for your passion and your commitment to getting this message out and bringing hope to millions all around the world that have been affected by cancer. I know cancer has affected my family, affected me personally, and just what you and Charlene and your whole family represents and the message, the incredible content you guys have in your documentary series, as well as on your website. Fantastic content there. I know is bringing hope to so many people. So thank you again for what you do and for being a part of our Fasting Transformation Summit here.
Thanks, brother. Lots of love from the Bollingers to the Jockers.
Well, thank you so much. And so for those of you that are listening, just remember this last thought. The fasting can unlock the dormant healing potential within you. It's safe, it's powerful, and it just might transform your life. So hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you on a future interview in the Fasting Transformation Summit. Be blessed.